In 1861, author George Eliot, seen here in this archival portrait, introduced the world to Silas Marner. He is a terrifyingly isolated man, living on the fringes of society. Silas was once a devout young man, until his best friend framed him for theft. His religious community used a system of drawing lots to determine his guilt, believing the outcome was divinely mandated. When Silas drew the short lot, he lost his faith, his fiancée, and his home. He fled to the village of Ravello and retreated into a mechanical existence. For 15 years, he lived only for his loom and the accumulation of wealth, obsessing over pieces like this gold guinea coin. He avoided the local tavern and spoke to no one. The villagers viewed his pale face and strange bulging eyes with superstitious dread, treating him as a suspicious alien while he spent his nights counting piles of silver and gold. Silas lived in a complete emotional vacuum. By replacing human connection with cold metal, he built a fragile reality that a single moment of misfortune could shatter. A few miles away, Godfrey Cass lived at the top of Ravello's social hierarchy, yet he was equally trapped. As the eldest son of the local squire, he was the heir to the Grand Red House, but his status was a hollow shell. Godfrey was secretly married to Molly Farron, an opium addict. This hidden union threatened to end his inheritance. His brother Dunsey used this secret as leverage, extorting Godfrey for years and keeping him in silent terror. This blackmail prevented Godfrey from pursuing the life he actually wanted, a respectable marriage to Nancy Lammeter, the woman he truly loved. Both men were living lives that could not last. One was buried in a hoard of physical gold. The other was suffocating under a mountain of lies. On a foggy winter night, the pressure on the Cass family reached a breaking point. Dunsey had just killed Godfrey's horse in a hunting accident and needed immediate cash. He targeted the weaver's cottage. Finding the door unlocked, he slipped through the entrance and stepped into the firelight. Dunsey quickly found the hiding place beneath the floorboards. He grabbed the 2 heavy bags of gold and disappeared into the freezing mist, never to be seen alive again. When Silas returned, he found only an empty hole. He frantically searched the room, upending his furniture and sweeping the floor in a panic, but the gold was gone. The theft stripped Silas of his only reason for living. Without his hoard, he was left hollowed out and entirely defenseless against the world. Weeks later, on New Year's Eve, Godfrey's secret wife Molly set out to expose him, but as she walked through the blizzard, the opium took hold. She stumbled and collapsed into the deep snow. Her toddler wandered away from her body, following a light toward the weaver's cottage. The child crawled through the open door and fell asleep by the warm hearth. Silas, waking from a trance, saw a glimmer of yellow on the floor. For a moment, he thought his gold had returned. Instead, his hands touched the warm, soft curls of a sleeping child. When Molly's body was found the very next day, Godfrey saw that his secret was now safely dead with her. He chose not to identify her or the child to the villagers. Silas made a different choice. He decided to adopt the girl, naming her Eppie. This act of care began to pull him out of his 15-year isolation. Godfrey stayed silent. He allowed a poor weaver to raise his biological daughter so that he could marry Nancy and keep his social standing. This night redirected the lives of both men. Silas chose to embrace a child and regained his humanity. Godfrey chose to protect his status and lost his daughter. 16 years later, Silas was an integrated member of the Ravello community. Raising Eppie had forced him to speak to his neighbors, and their kindness had slowly healed his spirit. Godfrey and Nancy were now the masters of the Red House. Their marriage was respected, but they remained childless, a fact that weighed heavily on Godfrey as he grew older. The past finally caught up with them when the village decided to drain the stone pit near Silas's cottage. As the water receded, it revealed the skeleton of Dunsey Cass, found with Godfrey's whip and Silas's stolen gold coins. Ending the 16-year mystery, this discovery broke Godfrey's resolve. He finally confessed his hidden past to Nancy, realizing his buried lies had surfaced. Godfrey and Nancy went to Silas's cottage to finally claim Eppie as Godfrey's daughter. They arrived expecting to bring her home to a life of luxury. Godfrey offered his wealth and his name. He assumed that the weaver's daughter would naturally choose the high status of the Red House over a life of poverty. Silas didn't fight him. He had grown beyond the need for possession, and he left the choice entirely to the girl who had saved him. Eppie rejected the offer. She chose to stay with the humble weaver who had loved and fathered her, rather than the rich man who had abandoned her. Silas had his gold back, but he barely noticed the coins. Raising Eppie had given him a purpose that his hoard never could. The money was just metal. His life was now defined by the daughter who chose him.